super fascinating story out. It appears that there is a purge going on within the Russian military and administration. It says Putin purges 150 FSB agents in response to Russia's botched war with Ukraine. It says, quote, a Stalinist mass purge of Russian secret intelligence is underway after more than 100 agents were removed from their jobs, and the head of the department responsible for Ukraine was sent to prison. Wow, это не хорошо, at least for Russia, that is. In a sign of President Putin's fury over the failures of the invasion, about 150 Federal Security Bureau (FSB) officers have been dismissed, including some who have been arrested. So they're literally arresting them too, and sending some to jail. All of those ousted were employees of the Fifth Service, a division set up in 1998 when Putin was director of the FSB to carry out operations in the countries of the former Soviet Union with the aim of keeping them within Russia's orbit. The service's former chief, Sergei Beseda, 68, has been sent to Lefortovo prison in Moscow after he's placed under house arrest last month. Wow. The prison was used by the NKVD, the KGB's predecessor, for interrogation and torture during Stalin's Great Purge of the 1930s. Wow, that's pretty remarkable. I think Putin is probably trying to send him quite a bit of a message, you know? It says the FSB purge was reported by Christo Grozev, executive director of Bellingcat, the investigative organization that unmasked the two Salisbury poisoners in 2018. He did not reveal the source of his information. The officer had been dismissed for, quote, reporting false information to the Kremlin about the real situation in Ukraine before the invasion, he said. I can say that although a significant number of them have not been arrested, they will no longer work for the FSB, Grozev told Popular Politics, a YouTube channel about Russian current affairs. Last month, FSB officers also carried out searches at more than 20 addresses around Moscow of colleagues suspected of being in contact with journalists. Bezeda, who remains under investigation, is being held on the official charge of embezzlement. In reality, however, the basis for his arrest is the botched invasion, which has been blamed on poor intelligence concerning the political situation in Ukraine. It is thought that he has been replaced by his deputy, Grigory Grishev, 58. So it seems like, this is a common thing you'll see. I think they have Navalny on some bullshit charge too. And, you can see that with like Julian Assange as well. That's obviously not Russia, right? But that's a typical thing you do. Someone you want to jail, but you have to give some other charge. Not that they're not committing crimes. I mean, these people are obviously committing tons of crimes. Anybody up there and, like that high up is going to be committing tons of crimes, but they get away with it. But they would have. That's not the real reason why they're being thrown in prison. They're being thrown in prison because of the botched invasion. It says Andrei Soldatov, an expert on the Russian security services, said that in sending Beseda to Lefortovo, Putin had sent a very strong message to other elites in Russia. I was surprised by this, he told the Times. Putin could have very easily just fired him or sent him off to some regional job in Siberia. Lefortovo is not a nice place, and sending him there is a signal as to how seriously Putin takes this stuff. So I don't know how nice Siberia is, but you could definitely be like, all right, you're fired, and you send them to work off in like Sweden or something like that, or maybe tell them like go do some shit in Sweden or whatever. That's what a lot of higher ups in Russia will end up doing, is they'll send their kids abroad, or they'll go abroad, or have all their stuff abroad. So that is a big message, and honestly, what I think he's attempting to do with this is he's trying to send a message probably to others as well in the administration, saying like, yo, like if you fuck with me, this is what's going to happen. But if the reason why he's sending Beseda over to the prison is because there is botched information from the invasion, it kind of becomes a circular issue, because no one's going to tell Putin any of the real truth about like, hey, this is impossible, we can't win this, what your attempted encyclopedic historical knowledge of Ukraine's history is dead out false, and therefore your entire premise for your invasion is false. You can't tell him that, because he'll kill you. So there's no way they're going to tell him the real information, because you'll die. So who wants to die, right? So there's no way that that's going to end up happening. So at best, what could you really look for? Now, there's also, I guess, some, we're going to see in this article, that there is potentially some allegations of, double agency. It says Lefortovo, which is an FSB-run prison, has an underground shooting range with bullet holes left over from Stalin's purges when the room was used for mass executions. Wow, so a lot going on there, right? Definitely sending a strong message. This is an article for the Moscow Times. Soldatov suggested that it was possible Besedo was suspected of having passed information to the CIA. So now this is where it gets interesting, because is it a real charge that he's a double agent, or is that just your bullshit allegation to attempt to justify you're throwing him in prison, right? So it's like a diversionary tactic, just the same way that he was saying like, oh, we're gonna pull out of Kiev because we want to give a pause, when in reality they were getting fucked, and so they wanted to try to paint it as, oh, we're taking a voluntary pause instead of like we suck. So that's, this is the Russian game for sure, especially. I mean, this is any intelligence agency's game, but it definitely seems like Russia takes this stuff pretty seriously. It's a crime, I think, to call it a war in Russia. If you're a Russian, you call it a war, I think you can go to jail. You have to call it a special military operation. So they take this kind of semantical stuff and informational stuff very seriously. But there is the question, obviously. I have no doubts whatsoever. I personally believe, I'm not an expert, I'm not even qualified to give my opinion on this, honestly, but there has to be some kind of a mole within, the Russian military administration, because the information that the CIA has been able to garner is truly remarkable. It seems like generally the CIA under Joe Biden's administration has been very accurate for whatever reason. Even with like in Afghanistan, I remember with the Kabul airport, it was like a terrorist attack, like expected immediately, it's imminent, right? And then it ended up happening like the next day or that day of even. So definitely, we saw they kept saying, oh, Russia's going to invade. No one believed. I didn't believe, Russia's going to invade, blah. And guess what? They did, right? So before taking over the Fifth Service, Besedo worked in the counterintelligence, a role that involved close liaison with the CIA station in Moscow. Were he to be a double agent, it would explain the Kremlin's suspicions as to how U.S. intelligence had been so accurate in the build-up to the invasion. Soldatov said he did not believe Besedo was a double agent, but said it suited Putin's purposes to suggest so. It's good to be able to blame things on a traitor. It's a very Russian thing to do, he said. In the years before the invasion, the Fifth Service had been active in trying to destabilize Ukraine through cultivation of pro-Russian political figures and attempts to foment unrest among far-right groups in western Ukraine. Grozev said that he believed Russian security services had wasted, quote, billions of dollars on failed attempts to secure support from a shady political class in Ukraine in the lead up to the war. From 2014 to the present day, between 140 and 150 FSB officers had an unlimited budget to spend on recruiting Ukrainians of any level, he said in a discussion with two journalists from Novaya Gazeta last month. Grozev added that much of the money was spent wooing Ukrainian recruits with expensive trips to Thailand, Cyprus, and the Maldives. It was money that they never earned, he added, referring to the total failure of the FSB's attempts to stir up unrest in Ukraine. So this is where the issues come into play. It's not like these guys are like good guys, like these FSB guys that are getting taken out, but it's like they're obviously corrupt as shit anyways. They're just spending that unlimited budget, in the Maldives and, whatever, just buying nice yachts in Cyprus or whatever. Like, these dudes are corrupt as fuck, obviously. But at the same time, what can you expect them to do? They're not going to be able to tell Putin, like, hey, bro, your historical analysis of Ukraine, it's fucking wrong. And ergo, like, this whole purpose is stupid. Or, yeah, our tanks are really shitty. It has not really been properly replenished. Or, whatever it may be. And also, you got to keep in mind, Putin's not going to allow any serious military officers to be able to gain any power, because this is usually, I think, the downfall for autocratic leaders. You just can't have those people, because those people are huge threats to your power. Anybody who is successful militarily, intelligent militarily, they're a huge threat to your power. And so, Stalin, one of the reasons why Russia was so garbage, wasn't the whole reason, but it was certainly a big reason why they were so shit when Germany first invaded. First of all, they seem to think like there's no way that they're going to invade, even though, Churchill and the U.S. and France were telling him like, yo, dog, they're finna invade you. He's like, nah. But anyways, he had killed all of his generals. So when you kill off all your generals out of paranoia, your military is going to be butt cheeks, because you need solid logistical planning in order to be able to execute military plans, especially if you're talking about like invading a city. That's some tough stuff. Like Ukraine is not like just some complete, like, it's not even like Afghanistan. Like, we're talking about like a country that's not like completely cavemanish, right? So it's just a weird cycle, a weird situation, because they're not finna tell you what's true because you're gonna kill them. They're also corrupt douchebags at the same time. It's just like, but their coexistence is impossible because, again, any military powerful person is a huge threat to your power. So we're going to see these kinds of purges, I think, going on quite a bit. Is it going to fix anything? I don't think it will, because, it could maybe temporarily, but it really depends upon whether or not you can get people who are genuinely talented in the logistical field. That would be the only way. But given how much corruption there is in Putin's Russia, I highly, highly, highly doubt you're going to get like a Zhukov or someone like that. Like, nah, man. They're like, yeah, this is not going to happen. No way. But yeah, very super interesting stuff to see. And are they ever going to, like, are the elite in Russia getting scared? Are the oligarchs, are the powerful military leaders, if there even are that many or any, are they getting pissed off? Like, because they're coming up next, and eventually you would imagine they would have to revolt against him. Like, the powerful people would have to. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll definitely keep an eye on this. But very interesting stuff going down.